The sky above Zyphora shimmered in shades of violet and gold, reflecting the last rays of the twin suns that hovered lazily over the horizon. The capital city, with its tall crystal towers and streets paved in luminous stone, seemed alive with a quiet hum of energy. Princess Lyra of Zyphora walked gracefully along the balcony of her family's palace, her long robes flowing in the gentle evening breeze. Her eyes, a brilliant shade of sapphire, scanned the city below with calm precision. Everything in her world was orderly, structured, and beautiful. And yet, something about the day felt unusual. Lyra had always been trained for moments like this. From the day she was old enough to walk, she had been instructed not only in diplomacy, but in the subtle arts of reading people, maintaining composure, and, when necessary, defending herself. To an outsider, she might appear delicate and soft, but anyone who had underestimated her in combat or conversation quickly learned the error of their ways. The palace was a marvel of alien engineering. Towers spiraled toward the skies like frozen waterfalls of crystal, and bridges of shimmering energy connected them in intricate patterns. Robots and automatons moved about, tending to plants, cleaning corridors, and ensuring the comfort of its residents. The air smelled faintly of ozone and flowers, a scent that Lyra had always found calming. Yet today, she could not shake the feeling that her peaceful world was about to be interrupted. Her intuition proved correct when a sudden ripple of energy above the palace gates caught her attention. A small spacecraft, unlike any she had seen in Zyphora, descended with a whir of unfamiliar mechanics. It was sleek, made of dark metal with a shape that suggested speed and efficiency rather than elegance. From it stepped a human, a man, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a simple but clearly advanced suit of armor. His dark hair was cropped short, and his eyes, sharp and steady, seemed to take in everything at once. The guards immediately raised their weapons, their alien forms tense and rigid. Lyra, however, held up a hand. She had a feeling one she could not explain, that this human was no ordinary threat. Princess Lyra, the human called, his voice firm but respectful. "I am Captain Kale of Earth. I request an audience with the royal family." The words echoed through the palace hall like a ripple across still water. A human? On Zyphora? Requests for audience from Earth were rare, and those that existed were usually handled by diplomats, not soldiers. Lyra's mind raced. Why would a human warrior travel across the stars to meet her? Was he here to warn her? To challenge her? Or perhaps something else entirely? "Captain Kale," she said, her voice steady and melodic. "Your arrival is unexpected. Follow me." She gestured elegantly for him to walk beside her, leading him through the crystal corridors of the palace. The guards kept a careful distance, wary but silent, while Lyra maintained her poise. She could feel the human's gaze on her, assessing, curious. She refused to show any sign of nervousness. Every step she took, every tilt of her head, was calculated to convey control. "You must understand," she said finally, speaking more for herself than for him, "that our customs are particular. Every visitor is first observed, then judged, according to our traditions. You will be treated with courtesy, Captain, but you must respect the ways of our people." Kale nodded. "I understand, Princess. I've traveled far, and I respect the customs of every world I visit. I am here because I must deliver an important message, and perhaps learn from your people as well." Lyra raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite herself. Humans were known for their courage and unpredictability, but Kale carried himself with a confidence that was unusual, even for his species. She made a silent note. This man would require careful observation. The palace was filled with soft music, a series of tones that seemed to vibrate gently in the air rather than strike at the ears. Servants hovered at a distance, invisible yet attentive, as Lyra led Kale to a grand chamber overlooking the central gardens. The room was vast, with walls of transparent crystal that let the colors of the setting suns pour in. Holographic projections of Zyphora's history danced along the walls in shimmering light, depicting battles, treaties, and moments of peace alike. Lyra gestured for Kael to sit, though she remained standing. She herself preferred to stand in such meetings, for it allowed her to observe every subtle movement, every micro-expression. "You may speak, Captain," she said. Kael removed his helmet, revealing a face that was both strong and kind. "Thank you, Princess. I will be direct. My people have been studying your world for some time. We admire your advancements in science, art, and diplomacy. But we have detected signs of a looming threat, something that could endanger both our worlds if ignored." Lyra tilted her head slightly. "A threat? Please, elaborate." Kael's eyes were steady. "There is a faction in your outer systems, rogue commanders, seeking power without regard for life. They have technology capable of devastating planets. Your people may have the tools to defend themselves, but they may not see the danger coming until it is too late. I came to offer assistance." Lyra's mind raced. Rogue commanders were not unheard of, but the humans had a reputation for being bold, perhaps even reckless. Yet Kael's demeanor was calm, and she found herself strangely reassured. She studied him silently, analyzing every detail. This human could fight. He could survive. And perhaps, he could even understand the challenges of leadership in a way few others could. "Your words are serious," Lyra said finally, "and I appreciate your concern. But my people are not easily persuaded by outsiders, even those from distant stars. How can I trust that your presence here is truly honorable?" Kael leaned forward slightly, his gaze unwavering. "You can observe me, Princess. Judge me by my actions, not my words. I do not ask for trust, only the chance to prove that your people, and perhaps your world, can rely on me." Lyra studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well. You shall have your chance. But know this, Captain Kael. Zyphora is not a world where force alone wins respect. We value strategy, diplomacy, and the ability to remain composed under pressure. You will be tested, not just in battle, but in manners, judgment, and patience." Kael smiled faintly. "I welcome the test." The rest of the evening passed with careful observation. Lyra introduced Kael to her closest advisors, all of whom scrutinized the human with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. Kael answered their questions with honesty, intelligence, and respect. Slowly, the tension in the room began to ease, though Lyra remained watchful. She could not afford to let her guard down, not yet. Later, Lyra returned to her balcony, watching the twin suns sink below the horizon. She felt the weight of her responsibilities more acutely than ever. A human warrior had entered her life unexpectedly, and while his intentions seemed honorable, she knew the galaxy was full of surprises. She would need all her training, all her composure, to navigate what was coming. Yet, beneath the caution, she felt a spark of curiosity. A rare, thrilling sensation. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictable could be enlightening. Kael joined her on the balcony, silent at first, as if respecting her thoughts. "Princess," he said finally, "I know your people value poise and control. I do not mean to disrupt that. I only ask for the chance to understand it, and perhaps learn from it." Lyra regarded him for a long moment. Then, with a small, controlled smile, she said, "You may learn, Captain, but do not expect it to be easy. To walk among us is to respect every step, every word, and every choice you make." He nodded, a flicker of respect in his eyes. Understood. For the first time in days, Lyra allowed herself to breathe a little easier. The palace lights glowed softly, reflecting in the crystal towers around them. A new chapter had begun, one that would challenge her, test her, and perhaps, in ways she could not yet imagine, change her view of the universe. As night fell over Zyphora, the stars above seemed brighter than ever. Somewhere among them, the distant home of KL awaited, just as unknown to him as this world was to her. Two different worlds, two different cultures, had collided in a moment that would mark the beginning of an extraordinary journey. And in that moment, Princess Lyra stood tall, unwavering, ready to meet whatever came next, with the poise that had defined her life, and perhaps the courage to face something new. The morning on Zyphora arrived with a soft glow as the twin suns rose, spilling violet and gold across the crystal towers of the city. Princess Lyra stood in the palace training courtyard, her robes flowing gracefully in the gentle wind. Today was unusual. Today, she would observe the human warrior, Captain KL. In a test of skill, a demonstration that would not only measure his physical strength, but his adaptability, discipline, and respect for her people's traditions. The training grounds were vast. Unlike the glittering streets of the city, this area was designed for both display and combat, with platforms that shifted in height, walls that projected holographic opponents, and delicate obstacles meant to test both agility and strategy. Lyra walked along the perimeter, her posture perfect, every movement precise, her eyes scanning Kale as he approached the central platform. Kale looked out of place, at least to an alien observer. His suit of armor was simpler than the advanced exosuits of Zyphora's elite warriors. Yet it seemed practical and effective. He carried no unnecessary decoration, just the essentials for survival and combat. Still, Lyra noticed the confidence in his gait, the way he carried himself as if the ground itself recognized his presence. It was a human kind of bravery, direct, undeniable, and sometimes reckless. "Captain Kale," Lyra said, her voice calm and even. "The training you are about to witness and participate in is as much about understanding our ways as it is about skill. You will face challenges designed not to defeat you, but to test your ability to adapt. You must maintain poise, strategy, and honor at every step." Kale inclined his head. "I understand, Princess. I am ready." The first trial was simple in appearance but subtle in purpose. Platforms shifted underfoot, requiring balance, timing, and precision. Holographic targets appeared sporadically, demanding quick reactions and calm decision-making. Lyra moved first, her steps light and controlled, her body flowing with a rhythm that seemed effortless. The targets fell to her with fluidity, and when she landed on each platform, she did so with elegance and grace. Kyle watched her closely, noting the combination of strength, intelligence, and poise. When it was his turn, Kale stepped onto the platform, and for a moment, the difference was striking. His movements were direct and grounded, his reactions fast but less refined. Yet, as the trial progressed, he began to adapt. He observed the timing of the platforms, the subtle patterns in the holographic targets, and even the ways the ground responded to weight. Slowly, his movements grew more fluid, almost synchronizing with the rhythm of the test. Lyra's eyes sparkled with interest. Humans were known for their adaptability, but it was rare to see one adjust so quickly to alien mechanics. Even so, she maintained her poise, observing every motion, every choice, every minor hesitation. The next trial tested strength and strategy. A holographic opponent appeared, a tall, armored figure with glowing energy blades. Lyra's movements were a blend of martial precision and tactical foresight. She struck, dodged, and countered, never rushing, always anticipating the opponent's next move. Kyle followed, and while his style was different, less refined, more forceful, he compensated with keen intuition. He blocked attacks with raw strength, then pivoted with surprising speed to exploit openings. At one point, KL made a misstep, landing awkwardly on a platform. Lyra's eyes flicked to him, her expression calm, almost serene, but her mind was noting the miscalculation. The human hesitated, his chest rising and falling. But then he adjusted, recalibrating his movements. He was learning fast. After several rounds, Lyra decided it was time for the final test. A duel between them. Though not one meant to harm, energy blades of her own design materialized in her hands, glowing softly. KL activated his own weapon. A simple plasma sword with a hum of contained power. The air between them was charged, not with hostility, but with anticipation. "Remember, Captain," Lyra said, her voice steady. "This is not only about strength. It is about observing, predicting, and maintaining composure. A warrior without control is vulnerable, no matter how strong he may be." KL nodded, his eyes steady. The duel began. Lyra moved first, her strikes elegant and precise, her body flowing like water. KL responded with forceful, rapid attacks, aiming to test her defenses rather than overpower her. The contrast was striking. Lyra's every motion conveyed grace, thought, and strategy. KL's every motion conveyed courage, resilience, and adaptability. For several minutes, they circled each other, exchanging strikes that were more about testing and learning than victory. Lyra noticed the subtle ways KL analyzed her style, anticipating patterns and adjusting in real time. In turn, she modified her movements, testing his adaptability and patience. Suddenly, KL feinted to the left, and Lyra instinctively adjusted, narrowly avoiding a simulated strike. She recognized the cleverness in the maneuver, a human intuition that relied on unpredictability rather than refinement. A faint smile touched her lips. He was more capable than she had first imagined. The duel continued, each strike a conversation, each block a test of understanding. Lyra found herself genuinely intrigued by the human. He was strong, intelligent, and most importantly, he maintained his composure under pressure. She had expected reckless force, yet here was a warrior capable of learning, of adapting, of respecting the rules of engagement, even in unfamiliar territory. As the duel drew to a close, Lyra made her final move. A combination of speed, strategy, and grace designed to test KL's reflexes. He anticipated the strike, deflecting it with skillful timing. For a moment, they stood facing each other, their weapons sparking softly in the evening light. Both were breathing evenly, each showing respect for the other's abilities. "You are different from what I expected," Lyra said, lowering her weapon. Her tone carried no condescension, only acknowledgement. "You possess strength, yes. But more importantly, you possess the ability to observe and adapt. Few humans I have encountered demonstrate this so quickly." KL lowered his blade in turn. "And you, Princess, are as I expected, calm, precise, and always in control. You move, not just with skill, but with understanding. It is an honor to learn from you, even briefly." Lyra inclined her head slightly. "Learning requires humility, observation, and patience. You have shown glimpses of all three. Perhaps there is hope for humanity yet, though your methods are unconventional." KL smiled faintly, a hint of humor in his expression. Unconventional can be useful. Sometimes it allows one to survive when the expected methods fail. Lyra's lips curved into a small smile, but her eyes remained thoughtful. She had learned something important today. Strength was not merely physical. It was the combination of courage, intelligence, adaptability, and restraint. KL possessed all these qualities in ways that were different from her people, but no less effective. After the training, they walked together through the courtyard. The twin suns were now higher, casting long shadows across the platforms. Lyra spoke of the history of Xiphora, the importance of discipline, and the philosophy behind their combat styles. Kale listened attentively, asking questions that revealed both curiosity and respect. "You see, Captain," Lyra said finally, "we fight not to destroy, but to protect. Our weapons, our training, and our strategies are designed to defend, to maintain peace, and to uphold honor. One who understands strength but not restraint is a danger to all." Kale nodded. "I understand. On my world, we have similar principles, though often expressed differently. Strength without understanding can be as dangerous as ignorance. I see now why your people value control above all." They paused at the edge of a reflective pool, the water catching the sunlight and scattering it in brilliant colors. Lyra's gaze lingered on her own reflection for a moment, then shifted to Kale. "You have learned much today, but the galaxy is vast, Captain. The tests you face in the coming days will be far more complex than these exercises. Strength, adaptability, and composure will not always be enough." Kale's eyes were steady. "I am ready, Princess. Whatever comes, I will face it as best I can." Lyra regarded him for a long moment. Humans were unpredictable, yet in him she saw a rare combination: courage, intelligence, and an ability to respect the unknown. Perhaps this encounter would shape not only the future of her world but the future of theirs as well. As they returned to the palace, Lyra felt a quiet sense of anticipation. The human warrior had passed her first test not by overpowering her, but by demonstrating his ability to adapt, to learn, and to maintain composure in an alien environment. She knew that the days ahead would be even more challenging, and yet, for the first time, she looked forward to them. The sun climbed higher, casting light across the palace and training grounds. Somewhere within the vast expanse of the city, the people of Xiphora continued their daily lives, unaware that a new chapter was beginning, one that would test courage, strategy, and the very limits of poise. Lyra's thoughts drifted to the coming days. She would observe, guide, and challenge Kale, ensuring that he understood not only the skills required to survive, but the discipline required to thrive. And in doing so, she would discover something about herself as well: the ability to trust, to adapt, and perhaps to embrace the unexpected. For now, the morning had passed, and the city of Xiphora shimmered in the bright light of its twin suns. The human warrior had proven himself worthy of attention, and Princess Lyra had glimpsed a courage and intelligence that few of her people possessed. In the quiet of the palace corridors, she allowed herself a single thought, one she had rarely admitted even to herself. The galaxy was changing, and she might need allies in places she never expected. And somewhere beside her, Captain Kale walked with steady steps, unaware of the depth of the challenge and the honor that lay ahead. The sun had just begun its descent over Xiphora, painting the sky in deep shades of orange and violet, when Princess Lyra made her way through the quiet halls of the palace. The day's training with Captain Kale had been revealing. She could see the human's courage and adaptability clearly now, but another matter pressed heavily on her mind. In her people's society, power was never far from peril. The royal family had ruled Xiphora for centuries, maintaining peace through wisdom, diplomacy, and the careful guidance of advisors who were loyal, or so they appeared. But Lyra had learned long ago that appearances could deceive. Today, subtle shifts in her courtiers' behaviors suggested a growing tension, a hidden current of unrest that could turn dangerous if ignored. She reached her private chamber, a space filled with soft lighting and walls that shimmered like liquid crystal. Lyra allowed herself a moment to breathe, to gather her thoughts. Her reflection in the crystal mirrored her composed exterior, but her mind was alive with questions. Something was stirring beneath the surface of her court, and she would not be caught unaware. Her intuition was confirmed later that evening during a ceremonial banquet. Guests filled the grand hall, their elegant forms reflecting the twin suns' fading light. Music floated through the air, soft and harmonious, while the smells of exotic foods drifted through the room. Lyra moved with grace among her people, smiling politely, acknowledging greetings, and maintaining the poise expected of a princess. But beneath the surface, she noticed subtle signs of discontent. A slight narrowing of eyes here, a fleeting glance there, whispers just soft enough to be inaudible to most. Lyra's eyes, trained to notice even the smallest irregularities, focused on a group of ministers who had always seemed overly ambitious. Their gestures were precise, controlled, but their posture hinted at impatience and suppressed intent. Kale, who walked beside her quietly, seemed to notice too. Though unfamiliar with the nuances of Zyphora's court, his human instincts allowed him to sense tension in ways others might miss. He leaned slightly toward Lyra. "Princess," he said in a low voice, "there is something going on here. I cannot say what exactly, but the air feels different." Lyra inclined her head slightly, appreciating his observation. "You are perceptive, Captain. Many here are skilled at hiding their intentions, but even the most careful movements can betray inner unrest. I have sensed it for some time. Now, your fresh perspective confirms it." They continued through the banquet, exchanging polite words with guests, while silently observing the subtle interactions around them. Lyra's mind worked quickly, piecing together fragments of behavior, analyzing alliances, and assessing the potential risk. By the time the final course of the banquet was served, she had a clearer picture of the problem. A secret faction within her court, motivated by personal ambition, was plotting to destabilize her rule. After the banquet, Lyra invited Kale to her private chambers. The palace was quiet now, with only the soft hum of the energy systems filling the background. She seated herself with calm dignity, gesturing for Kale to sit across from her. "The situation is delicate," Lyra began, her voice steady. "There are those within my court who would see the royal family weakened or removed. Their motivations are selfish, rooted in desire for power rather than concern for the people." Kale listened intently. "Do you have any idea who is involved?" he asked. Lyra nodded slightly. "I have my suspicions, but nothing concrete. Their movements are subtle, their actions carefully masked by layers of duty and loyalty. That is why I need a keen observer. You may be human, but your perspective is valuable precisely because you are not accustomed to our customs. Sometimes, an outsider can see what insiders overlook." Kale leaned forward, his expression serious. "Then I will watch and learn, Princess. I will pay attention to every detail, every action, and report anything suspicious. You can rely on me." Lyra studied him carefully. Humans were often impulsive, but Kale's discipline was evident. He understood that observation could be as critical as combat. She allowed herself a small nod of approval. Over the next several days, Lyra and Kale moved carefully through the palace and city. They attended meetings, observed advisors, and noted every subtle shift in conversation and gesture. Kale's human instincts complemented Lyra's training perfectly. He asked questions, noted inconsistencies, and observed behaviors that might have gone unnoticed by those accustomed to Zyphora's customs. One evening, while walking through a secluded corridor lined with softly glowing plants, Kale whispered, "Princess, the ministers you mentioned, 2 of them often meet in private rooms after hours. Their conversations are brief, but they avoid others' notice. I believe they may be planning something. At or benign." Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly, but her expression remained composed. "I suspected as much. We must proceed carefully. Any direct confrontation now could reveal that we are aware. Observation and strategy must come first. We cannot allow them to sense our awareness. They began a careful investigation, following the minister's movements without being noticed. Holographic recordings, subtle listening devices, and quiet observation points allowed them to gather evidence without drawing attention. The more they observed, the more apparent it became. A conspiracy was indeed forming, with plans that could endanger the palace, the royal family, and potentially the entire city. Lyra found herself balancing multiple roles at once. She was a princess, a tactician, and now, effectively, an investigator. Every decision had to maintain the appearance of calm authority while also uncovering the truth. Kale's presence was a stabilizing factor. His insights were often blunt and straightforward, yet effective in ways that Lyra's trained mind appreciated. Together, they formed a silent, efficient team. One evening, Kale voiced a concern. "Princess, the more we observe, the more careful we must be. If they suspect surveillance, they could act sooner than we anticipate. You must prepare for a confrontation, whether it is public or private." Lyra nodded slowly. "I have anticipated that. Poise must be maintained at all times. Our people must see the royal family as unshakable, even when danger is near. Strength is not always physical, it is also the ability to remain calm, to inspire confidence, and to think clearly under pressure." Kale smiled faintly. "That is a quality I respect. Many humans can be brave, but few can maintain composure like you." Lyra allowed herself a brief smile, though her mind returned quickly to the task at hand. Courage and composure are different. Courage is necessary to act. Composure ensures that the actions taken are effective. Both are required to protect what we value. Their investigation eventually led to a hidden chamber beneath the palace library. Kale had discovered it during one of his observations, noticing an unusual pattern of foot traffic. Inside, holographic projections of maps, communications, and schedules revealed the extent of the conspirators' plans. Lyra studied the displays carefully, her composure unbroken, though her mind raced. "These plans," she said softly, "are more organized than I expected. They have anticipated many possible obstacles, but not us." She glanced at Kale. "We now have an opportunity to intervene before their actions escalate." Kale nodded. "Then, we act carefully. We need to expose them without causing panic or giving them time to counterattack." Lyra agreed, her mind already devising a strategy. She would gather the evidence, confront the conspirators subtly, and maintain the appearance of calm authority throughout. The people of Sci-Fi must never see fear or hesitation from their princess. To do otherwise would embolden the traitors and weaken the trust in the royal family. As night fell over the city, Lyra and Kale left the hidden chamber. The palace was quiet, but the weight of their discoveries pressed heavily upon them. Lyra's posture remained perfect, her face calm, but inside, her mind was alive with plans and contingencies. Kale followed closely, ready to act, his own focus sharp. "Princess," he said quietly, "when the time comes, I will stand with you. If the conspirators act against you, I will not hesitate to defend you." Lyra's eyes met his. For a moment, the usual calm elegance gave way to something more personal. "Trust. I do not doubt your courage, Captain Kale. But courage alone is not enough. Strategy, timing, and perception will decide the outcome. We must be ready for anything, yet appear ready for nothing." They paused at the balcony, looking out over the glowing city below. The lights reflected in the crystalline towers, soft and radiant, giving the illusion of serenity. Beneath that beauty, however, danger stirred unseen, calculated, and patient. Lyra inhaled deeply, letting the cool night air fill her lungs. She had faced challenges before, but never like this. Never with a human warrior at her side, whose presence both challenged and reassured her. She realized, as she watched Kale, that their alliance, though unexpected, might be the key to preserving not only her family's rule, but the safety of Zyphora itself. The night deepened, and the palace grew still. Shadows lengthened along the corridors, and unseen eyes of conspirators moved quietly in the dark. Lyra's mind raced with possibilities and contingencies, but through it all, she maintained her poise. The calm exterior that had defined her since birth. The human warrior, standing beside her, was ready to act when called upon. Together, they represented a combination of courage, intelligence, and adaptability qualities that might be Zyphora's greatest hope against the unseen threat lurking in the heart of the palace. And as the stars began to shine brightly above the twin suns, Lyra allowed herself a quiet thought, one she would carry into the challenges ahead. Sometimes, the greatest strength comes not from force alone, but from the combination of courage, strategy, and the courage to trust in those who are different from oneself. The shadows of conspiracy had emerged, but Princess Lyra remained poised, unshaken, and ready to confront whatever came next alongside a human warrior whose bravery was unlike anything she had known. The day began, like any other on Zyphora, with the twin suns rising over the crystalline towers of the capital. Yet beneath the calm beauty of the city, tension simmered. Princess Lyra had prepared for this moment for days, observing, planning, and waiting for the conspirators to make their move. She knew the danger would come not as an open attack, but as a sudden strike designed to destabilize her rule before anyone realized what had happened. Kael stood beside her in the palace courtyard, his presence both steadying and reassuring. The human warrior had proven himself in training, in observation, and in loyalty, earning Lyra's trust. Now, they faced a true test. The conspirators were ready to act, and the palace itself would become the stage of confrontation. "Princess," Kael said quietly, his eyes scanning the approaching shadows. "I see them gathering. They intend to act now." Lyra's expression remained calm, as always. "Yes, they believe they can surprise us. They underestimate our preparation and their own limitations. We will meet them with strategy, composure, and strength." The first sign of movement came from the grand hall. Doors burst open as armored figures, the faction's loyalists, surged toward the palace's central chambers. Their weapons glinted, energy blades humming with quiet menace. The palace guards moved quickly, forming defensive lines. But it was clear that this was no ordinary skirmish. The traitors had the element of planning, and they intended to use it fully. Lyra stepped forward, her robes flowing like liquid silver, her stance commanding. "Defend the people, hold your lines, and follow my command," she called. Her voice carried authority without anger, clarity without fear. The guards responded immediately, their disciplined formations tightening under her command. Kael drew his plasma sword, moving with a human grace that combined agility and force. "I stand with you, Princess," he said, his voice steady. "Let them come." The first wave of attackers reached the courtyard, but they had underestimated their opponents. Lyra had positioned defensive barriers that were invisible until activated, and Kael's human reflexes allowed him to anticipate attacks with surprising speed. Together, they coordinated their defense without the need for words. Lyra's strategy, Kael's adaptability, and the guards' training forming an unbroken chain of resistance. Lyra moved like a force of nature, her energy blades striking with precision. Every movement was calculated, every strike intended to neutralize rather than destroy. She was a dancer in battle, her grace hiding lethal skill. Kael, by contrast, was a whirlwind of raw power and intuition, deflecting attacks with strength, then pivoting to exploit openings the conspirators had not anticipated. The courtyard erupted in controlled chaos. Sparks flew from energy blades, barriers hummed with defensive energy, and holographic traps sprang into action, disorienting the intruders. The conspirators, skilled and prepared, fought back fiercely, but Lyra's calm authority and Kale's relentless courage allowed the defenders to maintain their position. At one point, a tall figure broke through the line, moving toward Lyra with an energy blade raised high. She met him with fluid precision, sidestepping the attack and disarming him in a single motion. The move was more than physical, it was psychological, demonstrating that brute strength alone would not prevail. Kale noticed another group attempting to flank the courtyard. Without hesitation, he sprinted to intercept, using the environment to his advantage. Platforms and holographic barriers, previously meant for training, became weapons in his hands. He forced the attackers back, creating space for Lyra to redirect the main line of defense. Amidst the battle, Lyra's mind remained sharp. She directed her forces with calm authority, analyzing enemy movements, predicting their strategies, and adjusting defenses in real time. Kale's presence allowed her to focus on strategy, confident that he could handle immediate threats with skill and courage. One of the conspirators, recognizing Lyra's influence over the guards, attempted to attack from above, leaping onto a raised platform. Lyra anticipated the move, activating a hidden defense barrier that sent the intruder tumbling safely but firmly out of the fight. She did not kill. She neutralized. Every action was a lesson in poise, strength, and mercy. Kale moved to her side, blocking a strike that had slipped past a guard's attention. "You handle this with elegance, Princess," he said between movements. "Your calm presence steadies everyone around you." Lyra's eyes flicked to him, a faint smile touching her lips amidst the chaos. "And your courage steadies me, Captain. Never underestimate the value of adaptability. Strength alone is not enough." The battle continued for what felt like hours, though in reality, it was a careful sequence of actions and reactions, each side testing the other's limits. Lyra's strategy began to pay off. The conspirators' coordination faltered under constant pressure. Their earlier advantage diminished by the disciplined defense of the palace and the combined efforts of human and alien allies. Kale, recognizing a critical opening, took decisive action. He leapt into the midst of the enemy's formation, disrupting their lines and forcing a retreat toward a confined corridor. Lyra followed, guiding the palace guards to surround the remaining attackers, cutting off escape routes. The tide of the battle had turned. As the last of the conspirators were contained, Lyra stood at the center of the courtyard, her energy blades deactivated, her robes flowing perfectly despite the intensity of the confrontation. The palace guards, breathless but disciplined, gathered around her, awaiting instruction. Kale stood beside her, his armor scorched and scratched, but his posture steady, his eyes alert. "They are contained," he reported. "No further movement detected." "Well," Lyra nodded, her face calm but resolute. "Ensure they are disarmed, and that no harm comes to innocents. The people must see that justice is firm, fair, and controlled. Strength tempered with reason ensures respect, not fear." The conspirators were escorted to secure chambers, their plans dismantled, their influence broken. The palace was safe, at least for now. But Lyra knew the galaxy was filled with dangers that could not be predicted. Every victory was temporary. Every threat a reminder that vigilance must never falter. After the battle, the princess and the human warrior moved to the palace balcony, overlooking the city. The twin suns were setting once more, bathing the towers in golden light. Lyra allowed herself a moment to breathe, to reflect. "You fought well, Captain Kale," she said, her voice calm and melodic. "You faced unexpected circumstances and adapted with skill and courage. Your presence made a difference today." 1. Kale nodded, his expression serious but respectful. "I only did what was necessary, Princess. You led with clarity and strength. I could only follow your example." Lyra smiled faintly. "Leadership is not only about strength. It is about clarity, composure, and the ability to inspire others. You have qualities that complement mine. Together, we have shown that courage and strategy, when combined, can overcome even the most calculated threats." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the city. The palace guards moved among the streets below, ensuring safety and maintaining order. The people of Zyphra, unaware of the danger that had been so close, continued their lives, trusting the royal family to protect them. Kyle broke the silence. "Princess, the conspirators were clever, but they underestimated us. Do you think others might attempt similar actions in the future?" Lyra's eyes reflected the fading light of the twin suns. "Perhaps. The galaxy is vast, and ambition knows no bounds. But we are prepared. Every threat teaches a lesson. Every victory strengthens resolve. We remain vigilant, and we act with poise. That is how we endure." The human warrior nodded, understanding the lesson without needing further explanation. Courage, intelligence, adaptability, composure. These were not just skills, but a philosophy of survival. As night fell, Lyra and Kale returned to the palace chambers, weary but unbroken. The battle had tested their strength, their strategy, and their resolve. But it had also forged a deeper respect between them. The human warrior had proven himself worthy not only in combat, but in understanding the balance of courage and poise that defined Zyphra. Lyra reflected quietly on the events of the day. She had maintained her composure, directed her forces, and neutralized the threat without unnecessary bloodshed. Kael had adapted, acted decisively, and protected her when needed. Together, they had turned potential disaster into triumph. The palace was quiet now. The echoes of battle replaced by the soft hum of energy systems and the gentle whispers of night winds. The stars began to shine above, twinkling like distant beacons. Lyra allowed herself a small moment of relief, knowing that while the galaxy remained uncertain, they had proven that courage, strategy, and composure could overcome even the most dangerous threats. Kale, standing beside her, looked toward the horizon. "Princess," he said softly, "today we faced danger, and we prevailed. But I sense more challenges ahead. Are you ready?" Lyra's eyes met his, calm and unwavering. "I am always ready, Captain Kale, and with allies such as you, we will face whatever comes with strength, strategy, and poise. Together, we are stronger than any threat." And with that, the princess turned her gaze back to the city she vowed to protect, confident in her abilities, in her people, and in the human warrior who had proven himself as more than an outsider. He was a trusted companion in the battles yet to come. The morning on Zyphra dawned quietly, with twin suns spilling soft violet and gold across the crystalline towers of the city. The air felt calm, almost serene, a sharp contrast to the tension of the days before. Yet Princess Lyra knew better than to trust appearances. Danger had been thwarted, conspirators neutralized, but the lessons of the recent events lingered in her mind. She moved through the palace corridors with her usual grace, her eyes attentive to the smallest details. Every door, every servant, every movement of the guards was noted. Poise and vigilance, she reminded herself, were inseparable. She paused at the balcony overlooking the city, taking a moment to breathe in the morning air. Beside her, Captain Kale stood quietly, his posture relaxed yet alert. The human had become an unexpected yet trusted companion. Over the past days, he had demonstrated not only bravery and strength, but intelligence and respect for her people's ways. He had adapted to a world far different from his own, and in doing so, he had earned Lyra's admiration. "You have grown accustomed to our customs, Captain," Lyra said softly, her voice calm, carrying both warmth and authority. Kale nodded. "I have learned much from you, Princess. Not just combat or strategy, but perspective. Your poise, your composure. It is a type of strength I did not expect to find in a palace. I respect it greatly." Lyra allowed herself a faint smile. "And I respect your courage, your adaptability, and your willingness to act decisively when necessary. You have proven that strength can come in many forms." Their quiet conversation was interrupted by a messenger who approached with a carefully folded message. Lyra took it, her calm expression unchanging as she read the words. The message was from the city council, confirming that the conspirators had been securely detained and that investigations into their networks would continue. Peace, for now, was restored. Lyra folded the message neatly and handed it to Kale. "The city is safe. But this is only the beginning. There are always challenges beyond what we see, and we must remain vigilant." Kale's eyes narrowed slightly, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "I understand. But I also see the value of the alliance we have formed. Your people are strong and disciplined, and together, we are even stronger. The galaxy is vast, but perhaps it need not be hostile when allies are chosen wisely." Lyra nodded, her gaze fixed on the city below. "You speak wisely, Captain. Trust and cooperation are rare, yet invaluable. Today, we have proven that humans and Xiferans, working together, can overcome even the most calculated threats." The morning passed in careful planning. Lyra held meetings with her advisors, reviewing the security protocols and reinforcing the training of her guards. Kael observed quietly, offering insights when appropriate, particularly regarding unpredictability in human and alien interactions. His observations were always respectful, never overstepping, but valuable nonetheless. As the day wore on, Lyra summoned Kale to the Grand Hall, where the people of Xiphora had gathered. The citizens were unaware of the full extent of the recent danger, but they had felt the tension in the air. Lyra's calm presence was a reassurance. She would demonstrate that courage, composure, and intelligence could overcome adversity without spreading fear. Standing before the crowd, Lyra spoke with clear authority. "People of Xiphora, our city has faced challenges, yet we endure. Strength alone does not define us. Discipline, strategy, and the ability to remain composed under pressure are what preserve peace and prosperity. Today, we have seen courage and wisdom work together, and we must remember that our unity is our greatest strength." The citizens listened intently, inspired by her words. Lyra's message was clear. Leadership was not about domination, but guidance. Her calm, elegant demeanor reinforced the lesson, showing that a leader's poise could be as powerful as any weapon. Kael stood beside her, unnoticed by most, yet his presence was significant. He had fought alongside her, defended her, and demonstrated human courage in a way that complemented her own strengths. Together, they represented a new possibility, a partnership between species, forged through respect, strategy, and shared values. After the public address, Lyra led Kael to a quieter part of the palace, a terrace overlooking the gardens. The gentle breeze carried the scent of alien flowers, their colors vibrant against the crystalline structures surrounding them. Lyra's eyes reflected the twin suns as they climbed higher into the sky. "You have changed how I see humans," Lyra said, her tone thoughtful. "I expected boldness, perhaps recklessness, but you have shown wisdom, courage, and restraint. There is much to learn from your people, just as there is much for you to learn from mine." Kael's expression softened, a quiet smile on his face. "And I have learned that strength alone is not enough. Discipline, strategy, and understanding, these are just as important. I will carry these lessons wherever I go." Princess. Lyra's smile deepened slightly. Then perhaps our meeting was not merely chance. The galaxy is vast, and sometimes allies are found in the most unexpected places. Their conversation was interrupted by the soft sound of footsteps. An advisor approached, bowing slightly. Princess, the Council has approved a plan to strengthen alliances with neighboring worlds. Your leadership and the recent demonstration of our strength has inspired confidence. They wish to meet with you and with the human warrior who aided our city. Lyra inclined her head gracefully. Then we shall prepare. Let the message be clear. Strength and wisdom, courage and poise define us. Kael nodded. I will stand by your side, Princess. Together, we will show that cooperation across worlds is possible. The preparations for the meetings began immediately. Lyra and Kael coordinated with the palace staff, ensuring that everything from security to diplomacy was handled efficiently. Kael's human perspective proved invaluable, identifying potential gaps in communication and suggesting ways to present their combined strength without appearing threatening. Lyra observed him with interest, noting how seamlessly he adapted to alien customs while maintaining his own identity. The day of the diplomatic audience arrived, and the palace was filled with dignitaries from nearby systems. Lyra moved through the hall with calm authority, her presence commanding attention without demanding it. Kael followed at a respectful distance, ready to act if needed, but also allowing the princess to lead the proceedings. The meetings were formal but productive. Lyra demonstrated her knowledge of diplomacy, her ability to read intentions, and her poise under scrutiny. Kael contributed when appropriate, offering insights and demonstrating human ingenuity and courage. Together, they presented a united front that inspired respect and confidence among the visiting dignitaries. After the formal sessions, Lyra and Kael returned to the palace gardens. The alien plants glowed softly in the evening light, and the air was filled with the gentle hum of energy systems maintaining the garden's delicate balance. They walked side by side, each reflecting on the day's events. Princess, Kael said quietly, we have proven that humans and Zyphorans can work together. The galaxy is vast and unpredictable, but perhaps this is the beginning of something greater. Lyra nodded, her gaze thoughtful. Yes. Today, we have shown that courage, strategy, and composure are not limited by species. We can learn from each other, adapt, and grow stronger together. This is a new path, one that may shape the future of our worlds. They paused at the edge of a reflective pool, its surface catching the light of the twin suns setting behind the towers. Lyra's reflection shimmered alongside Kael's, a symbol of unity and mutual respect. She allowed herself a rare moment of reflection, thinking of the challenges they had faced, the dangers they had overcome, and the bonds that had been forged. You have proven yourself, Captain, Lyra said softly, her voice carrying both warmth and authority. Not just in battle, but in thought, in judgment, and in respect. You are no longer an outsider. You are a trusted companion, and perhaps a friend. Kael's expression softened, a quiet acknowledgement of the trust she placed in him. Have shown me the true meaning of leadership and poise. I will carry these lessons. Always. The city below remained quiet, peaceful, and safe. The conspirators were contained, the palace secured, and alliances strengthened. Lyra and Kael had faced challenges that tested their courage, their intelligence, and their composure, and they had prevailed. As night fell, the twin moons rose over Zyphora, casting gentle light across the city. Stars sparkled in the sky, distant yet familiar, reminding them that the galaxy was vast, filled with possibilities, challenges, and alliances yet to be formed. Lyra turned to Kael, her expression calm but resolute. The galaxy will always present dangers, Captain. But today we have proven that strength, strategy, courage, and poise can overcome even the greatest threats. Together, we have forged an alliance that may inspire others to follow the same path. Kale nodded. And together, we will face whatever comes next. For a moment, they stood in silence, gazing at the stars. The journey that had begun with an unexpected arrival had led to challenges, victories, and a partnership that neither had anticipated. The human warrior had earned his place beside the princess, and she had discovered that strength could be found in unexpected forms. In the quiet of the night, Lyra allowed herself a final thought, one that would guide her in the days ahead. Courage and poise, strategy and adaptability, honor and respect, these were the true measures of strength, and they were not limited to one species or one world. The galaxy was vast, the challenges endless, but Princess Lyra stood tall, unwavering, and ready to face whatever came next. And beside her, Captain Kale, human and warrior, stood equally ready, an ally, a friend, and a symbol of hope for the worlds they both cherished. Together, they looked to the future, confident that the bonds forged through courage, strategy, and mutual respect would endure. The story of their courage, their alliance, and their unwavering poise would be remembered on Zyphora and perhaps across the stars.